I stipulated that it would not be a Marriott. As soon as I checked into the hotel, I called my daughter. Gary called one of his coworkers to pick him up, and after we exchanged phone numbers, he left. Daddy, why are you at the hotel? My daughter June immediately asked. Did something happen between you and Mom? I told her I would prefer to talk to her in person if she was free. Hell yeah, I'm free. I'm off to dinner with friends, but I'm always available to help you. I'll be there as soon as I can. As I hung up, I realized I forgot to tell her not to call her mother before we talked. But then I decided I didn't care if she did. What's going on? Asked June as soon as I opened the door to my room. She frowned, looking at my half-drunk state. The fact that you're drunk means Mom did something. I think whatever she did was stupid and hurtful. She's not stupid enough to try to kick you out. You would have burrowed into the ground. She left you, didn't she? She's gone to Aunt Doris's. I asked how she knew that. I drove by the house, but I didn't stop. Aunt Doris's car is in the driveway, but on one side, in front of your part of the garage. I can't tell if Mom's car was there, said June. Oh, shit. Did they leave together for a party or worse? June asked the last word, moving closer to see my reaction. I nodded. Shit, she exclaimed, wrapping her arms around me and clinging to me, crying. I'm so sorry, Daddy. I couldn't help myself and began to sob. Despite the anger and resentment my wife had left in me, I knew my little girl was on my side. I loved her, but I can't put up with this. 24 years wasted, lamented I. Not the bottom. Just a new beginning, Daddy. You have me, proclaimed June as we hugged. I was glad she didn't immediately protest and tell me I needed to forgive. Finally, I had to ask, did you know about this? Warn me in advance? She shook her head and hesitated before continuing. Well, I suspected something was wrong. She and Aunt Doris have been spending a lot of time together. Surely you've noticed that, suggested June. I agreed. She even stayed overnight at her sister's house sometimes. The light bulb came on. June continued. Well, Doris has a lot of fun. I mean, going to bars and dancing and stuff like that. She didn't talk about it explicitly, but I'm sure she slept around. She'd see some guy and comment that he had a cute ass. That sort of thing. Mom said she wished she could do that. Then she'd quickly add something like, but I'm married. And sometimes she complained that you could make more money. All you have to do is go and ask for a raise. June blushed. I don't like to say this, but Mom did a few times. If your daddy had grown balls, he could have gone and demanded to be paid what he was worth. For goodness sake, he can't even stand up to his own brother. I shrugged and said we had enough money to live well if Donna didn't spend it. Oh, I know. I've seen her spend money, especially after you wouldn't let me. You gave me an allowance the whole time I was in school. That is, even after all my bills were paid. You told me to consider it my payment for studying and getting good grades. I had to live on that amount or do without it. I think you purposely limited me to that amount so that I would learn to budget, said June. She interrupted the conversation by looking in the minibar. I can't drink this rock gut straight. I need to mix it up. Do you want to pay for this minibar or do you want me to go down to the lobby and use the soda machine? I need a drink while you tell me what happened. The thought made me laugh. Even now she looked at me sparingly. She was my daughter. First of all, it's not rock gut. It's an expensive single barrel whiskey. It cost me over $50 a bottle. But save that walk. We'll spend the money. Half of it will still go to your mother when we sort out the estate. That statement threw June off balance. So, it's not something you're willing to forget and forgive? It's more than an argument about money, said June. I told her it was much more than that and laid it all out. I told her in detail how I had spent the time from the time I got home until she showed up, including watching her mother and aunt's actions in the lobby of the Marriott. A policeman sat with you in your car and then drove you here? She asked, flabbergasted. I nodded. He's a good guy, I said. Smart. He's going to succeed at whatever he does. He gave me some advice, like not coming home and burning the house to the ground or not throwing all my mom's shit out on the lawn for the neighbors to see. I'm not going to hide anything from anyone though. She's made her decision. I've made mine. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to let everyone know what a cheating bitch she is. She might even like the publicity that it's on the menu and available. Maybe she's deluded enough to think like she can switch like she said she would. Or maybe she's trying to push some kind of agenda to get me to go along with her new decision to do what she wants. By that I mean she needs to know that she can't share the same guy with her sister. Not in the long run. The whole idea is just stupid. That's what she's saying. You've been sitting around thinking about all this while sitting in your car drinking? Asked June, mildly amused. I'm not as stupid as everyone thinks, I said. I can think the situation through. Your mother wasn't just suddenly seized by some impulse to become a whore. She and your aunt planned it. It must have been in preparation for some time. June nodded, listening. It used to bother me how much she could tell you. And if you were on board? That got a reaction. June stared at me with her mouth open. It turned into a grin, then softened. Tears appeared in her eyes. You can't believe I'd be part of some plan to screw you over, Daddy. I shook my head. I knew for a fact that she had no idea of her mother's intentions. Tonight, as I sat drinking, all sorts of thoughts crossed my mind. How it happened, what really happened, who knows? I said. My thoughts were all sorts of different things. Well, I can tell you this, stated June. She may be my mother, but that won't stop me from telling her what a stupid bitch I think she is. She asked me what I was planning on doing in the near future. I told her what Gary had said about how he handled his girlfriend's cheating. He's no expert, but I have to applaud the way he handled the situation, I said. He was decisive, acted straightforward, but kept his cool. I hope to be just as cool-headed. But I can tell you there's no turning back. I just can't forgive this. This isn't some one-time drunken mistake that can be smoothed over with counseling. This was a deliberate decision to destroy me, to rub my nose in it. Your mother may try to tell me it was just sex. Or she was just trying to get my attention. Well, if that's the case, she ruined it, June said. You've always been hard on me. Not that I couldn't get a lot out of you, but I knew when I was out of line. Your bottom lip would quiver slightly when you were angry, and you kind of slumped your shoulders back when your decision was final. That's when I realized the game was over. I guess this isn't the time to discuss how you're going to help me convince Uncle Bob to give me a job at eSync, asked June with a smirk. I knew she had applied and gotten a few offers, but they were all out of state. Now I'll have to stay close to home to support you. I laughed but felt much better. I wanted her to be her own person and do what benefited her. So I never pushed her to work for Bob and me. Of course, I would have been happy for her to come work in the family business. But now is not the time for big openings. We'll work it out, honey, was all I said. June and I sat and talked for several hours. After a few drinks, she was too drunk to drive. So we went to the lobby for a free toothbrush. She slept in the other double bed. I heard her get up a couple times to go to the bathroom. I woke up to the sound of the shower running. June appeared fully dressed. Her hair was damp. I need to stop by the house to change, and then I'm going to the house. You shower, check out, and meet me there. We need to start sorting things out, she ordered. No breakfast first, boss, I asked. She grinned at my sarcasm and sternly told me to get my ass up, shower, and go home to change, and then we'd talk about breakfast. I really didn't feel like going home alone. I figured I might just change my mind and dump some of Donna's shit in the front yard as a public statement and let her clean it back up herself. I took my time, and 2 hours later I pulled up to my house and found June in the bathroom. She was in June's car, parked in the driveway. There's a pickup truck parked outside that I had never seen before. Stepping inside, I found June having coffee with Gary, the officer we had met the night before. You were telling me how uh, Officer Jensen was helpful. So I wrote down his phone number and called him this morning, offered June by way of explanation. This won't get you in trouble, I asked the young man. He shrugged and said he was off duty and it was his day off. He was sure his captain would be on board, and if not, he was considering a career change anyway. I went to change. Derry, can I have that car that's blocking my access to my garage towed? I asked. He grinned and said it was my house, so I called the tow company and asked them to remove the car. Whoever left it blocking my garage would have to pay towing fees and $40 a day for impound when they picked it up. June called a local firm that offered climate-controlled storage and made a reservation. It wasn't long before most of my clothes and any personal items I didn't want to risk were safely locked up. I even took my linens, towels, bed and dresser from the guest room, as well as my chair and big screen TV. I took the everyday dishes, but left Donna her nice china. I didn't fail to clean out the wine cabinet, a small thing, but I wasn't going to leave any of it behind. We still had some time left. Dottie, you need to authorize a few things I did for you, like transferring half of your money. I used my savings account. It can all be done online, you know that, so I just acted like you. I called your investment broker this morning and told him you were in the process of getting a divorce and asked if you had to come in person or if he could block your account. He said this happens all the time and he can do it. It is very easy to block it. It takes you and your mom together or a court order to unblock it. Are you okay with that? I nodded. She grinned. Good, because that's exactly what I did. I also canceled your credit cards. I claimed they were stolen, but before I did that, I paid off the balance from your bank account. All of your information was on your desk. I know you know better than to leave your book of PIN numbers and passwords behind. I asked what I should do with the money. Well, I left enough money for you to withdraw 400 in cash from the ATM. Plus, remember the credit card you gave me just for emergencies while I was in school? Well, you can use it. You and I are on that account. Damn, you're on top of things. Do you have a beef with your mother? Asked Gary. I felt like June's stare was going to make him burn to the ground. No, my mom screwed over my dad so she could mess around. If the situation was reversed and my dad was the one off the reservation, I'd do the same thing to help my mom. I try to be fair. I just won't let her ruin his life when she thinks about it. I have no doubt Mom will try to get the money out. I know my aunt. She will encourage my mom. And once they realize that Daddy's not going to bend over for them, they're going to start taking action. And hard. Before we left the house, the phone rang. It was Donna. Why the hell isn't my credit card working? She demanded. They said it was stolen. You asshole. You're offended that I found a real man and your boyish ego can't deal with it. Well, I'm standing in front of an ATM and on my way to the bank. I'm going to hit up everything I can to get every last time I can before they close. You're not going to stop me from having a good time this weekend. I knew she would only be able to get about 2,000. June had transferred the rest. She'd have enough money to last her for a few weeks if she didn't spend it on tonight's party. I was willing to bet she'd be the one paying for everyone's fun. You've made your decision, Donna. I've made mine, I said quietly. I'm separating our lives in every way possible until I talk to a lawyer Monday morning. It's over between us. I hung up before she could answer. June and Gary heard this conversation. I'm hungry. Let's go get something to eat. I knew I couldn't find an apartment and I didn't want to stay in a hotel for the rest of the weekend. I called my brother and asked if he could put me up for the weekend. What the hell did you do? Asked Bob. I replied that I hadn't done anything at all. Don't tell me Donna totally freaked out and dumped your sorry ass or kicked you out for no reason. I told him it was much worse than that. Well, the guest room is cleaned up. Get your ass in here if you don't want me to come get you. By the way, I hope you brought all the bottles of single barrel whiskey. Don't leave any so Donna can pour it out. I told him that all the bottles were guarded or accounted for. One I'd already put through my liver and kidneys. Don't waste any more before you get here. I want you sober enough to explain what happened before you shit your pants. I told him I was taking June out to eat and would be there in a few hours. June smirked. She looked at Gary, who looked dumbfounded. My uncle and daddy break each other's balls all the time. I mentioned her tone. I'm a big girl, daddy. I use more than that. Anyway, Gary, Uncle Bob, and Daddy have each other's backs. Their jokes don't mean anything. You can tell it's serious when the jokes are over. I bet their next conversation will be a frank one. After we ate, they followed me to my brother's house and then went about their business. My brother and I spent most of the weekend in long conversations. His wife, Evelyn, listened somewhat at first, and after muttering a few remarks like vain self-sufficient bitch left us alone. I wondered when I would hear from Donna next. She didn't call me when she checked her bank balance. Around 5 o'clock on Sunday, my phone rang. Hi, Donna. I said in as even a voice as I could. What the hell have you done? She almost shouted. Where the hell is Doris's car? I thought you were just pissed off and canceling credit cards trying to stop me from having a good time. You mean that piece of crap that was blocking access to my garage? I asked. I had it towed. I don't know how late they work on Sunday, but their card is on the kitchen table. You'll have to pay towing and impound fees to get your car back. I hope you set aside enough money from the party for that. Your little male ego is so wounded that you had to take it out on my sister? Domna Bilod. I could hear Doris screaming in the background, calling me all kinds of names. I told you we'd talk when I got home, and I'd tell you how it was going to be. You're going to pay for your little tantrum. You know the car will be repossessed with our money, not hers. First of all, your comment about my little male ego cost you dearly. I hate that, said I, seething with rage. Second, I'm not interested in listening to you dictate how things are going to be. You made it clear you were going to mess around, but you found a better man. So, as far as I'm concerned, he can have you. Did you seriously think I was going to stay here to listen to you dictate how things were going to be? If you look around, I've moved a lot of personal belongings out of the house. I told you yesterday that I'm separating my life from yours. I'm just going to take my little wounded ego and leave you alone. So, if you have something of substance to say, speak up or hang up. I heard her mutter, it wasn't supposed to be like this. In the background, I heard Doris say, tell that weakling to back off. He'll come crawling back soon. I hung up the phone. Surprisingly, I wasn't upset. I felt cold inside, completely frozen. I realized that I would probably mourn the death of my marriage later, but I didn't care now, but I definitely wanted revenge. I half expected her to call me back to curse me out after she looked at the house, but neither Donna nor Doris said a word until the end of the next day. I took the day off to talk to our corporate attorney, who quickly referred me to a divorce lawyer. I was given the usually unhappy news about what happens in a divorce. I would lose half of everything. Fortunately for me, my trust protected my business interests. Donna made about the same income as I did, so alimony wasn't an issue. We had some personal investments, but only about 20,000. We spent almost all of our extra income on sending June to school and bailing Doris out of her financial difficulties. Our main asset was the house, which I would have gladly sold or let Donna buy me out, which I knew she couldn't do without a large loan. We had no dependent children. Doris wasn't considered a dependent. I planned for Donna to be served the next day. Frankly, I thought I wouldn't hear a word from Donna until she was served, at which point it would be vengeful yelling. Around 4 in the afternoon, she called me. I'd like to talk, she suggested quietly. So talk, I told her. Not right now. I'm still at work. You can come home, and we can talk in private, she said. No. Iraplia la kunikai. You can close your office door and talk now or call me back after you leave. But as for me driving to your house for 2 minutes of conversation or less, It's not worth the effort. What do you mean 2 minutes? Is that all our marriage is worth?